Because when you're just focused on what you do, which our insecurities want to keep us locked up there. We're playing like Saul. Oh, David is tens of thousands and me only my thousands. But when you have the news flash, hey, everything David does is a win for the kingdom, Saul, and you're the king. That's a win for you.
That's really good.
And you can take as much joy in that, then you have endless significance forever. So like you're saying, I'm going to give the secret sauce away, like I've done at ARC, like I did with Growth Track, like you did with all these paradigms that every church around the country is running the plays, and you're going, I'm excited. I don't need anybody mentioning that Hodges came up with this thing. Like you're saying, take it, and now you're going to do that with education too. Hello.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the GrowLeader Podcast, where we grow leaders that grow churches by helping you reach your full potential. That's why we're here today. So glad to have you with us. My name's Matt, and alongside my founding pastor, Pastor Chris Hodges, right here.
You know, people don't know what to call me these days now.
I'm there.
Everybody's calling me like I'm no longer a pastor now because I'm not the lead pastor. I'm like, dude, I'm still Pastor Chris. Yeah, that role never leaves. I just don't have the responsibilities any longer, which I am very, very grateful for. Actually,
it's a pause of honor. We're all checking ourselves to make sure we hit the right title.
Chancellor doesn't roll off the tongue in the same way.
And people are saying Chancellor. It's like no. You can still call me.
I love it,
Pastor Chris, or better yet, PC.
I'm PC. I'm glad you're here.
Well, I'm very glad to be here too. So we had an amazing day today with Mr. Levi Lusko here at Highlands College, and taught our students. And man, it was a great message. In fact, we need to put in the show notes the link to it because I don't even think this podcast could do it justice. As he really didn't preach to our students, he taught how to use illustrations because you're such a creative. And I haven't even introduced you in the podcast yet. I think people know you, but you're such a great creative. But let's introduce our guests and let's get to some of this content.
So we have with us today the senior pastor, founding pastor. You're a founding pastor as well of Fresh Life Church. You guys, where's the broadcast campus?
Kalispell, Montana.
Kalispell, beautiful part of the country. Glacier National Park.
Yeah, by Glacier, 60 miles from Canada, middle of nowhere, and we like it that way up there. Yeah,
that's awesome. So you guys have been 18 years now, right?
Yeah.
18 years as a church, 10 campuses.
Yep. 3
states.
Yep. And then we're on Mother's Day this year. We're opening. I know you guys are deeply involved in the prison ministry. We're opening in the women's prison, the first God Behind Bars campus in the state of Utah.
Wow.
In a women's prison, and excited to open there on Mother's Day.
So cool, man.
That's awesome.
Also, just prolific author, great dad. We get to hang out with his daughter here at Highlands College, and
she is loving her experience here.
So let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm in this role now as chancellor and all things Highlands College, and
I think
be an ambassador for us. For
let me just unashamedly say, it's the greatest thing going for someone ministry-minded in America, maybe the world. I mean, I haven't been to every part of the world, but I don't know a better thing happening. I was telling you offline, the Bible college I went to, I grew up in the Calvary Chapel Association of Churches.
Right.
They had this beautiful property in California. It used to be an old hot springs resort with flowing hot springs, like the Rat Pack, Frank Sinatra, they used to go vacation there at this place.
Wow.
And they bought it and turned it into this amazing Bible college. And sadly, the Bible college has sort of, I think, all but kind of gone away, and they ended up just selling this beautiful resort. And last time I was there, I took my kids, and now it's like, you go get a spa and buy a house and have a condo and play tennis. And that was where I encountered God and got equipped for ministry. And so it really just makes my heart so happy to see Highlands College thriving. And I tell people when they ask, like, what's the deal there, that it's essentially like the cordon bleu. It's in my mind, premier pastoral and marketplace, but specifically within the context of a local church, leadership institution where you're getting first-rate experience, but also paired with the dynamic church experience.
Right.
And I don't think there's a better thing going. The grounds, the facility, the dorms, the food, and then what she's my daughter specifically, but every student's getting in terms of the spiritual emphasis and the initiatives, the running, all the different things that are happening. It's so well crafted. And it's like third wave coffee, but for Bible college.
Yeah.
It's like the pour over, So that's kind of my two cents.
Thank you. We work very hard for people to be able to say that. So thank you very, very much. And we do love it. We do think it's something very special. And everybody listening, I'd love for you to come by and see it. And then we love having people like you who are practitioners. One of the commitments I've made to our students is I'm not going to let them just hear from the theoreticians and the ones who simply have a degree in that. We do have our academic faculty and all of that. You have to have that. But man, to have somebody like you who does church work every day, I consider you to be one of the best creative voices. I know you have many other skill sets other than that, but dude, you have such an ability to bring messages to life, and as you said today in the chapel service, to light, where people can, almost visualize and feel the message today. Can you give them just a snapshot of that talk today, and then Matt, let's link the chapel service in the show notes so everybody can get it. Because dude, it was really spectacular.
Thank you. Well, thank you for those kind words. Basically just how to select an illustration and to not have too much, to not have too few, to not have self-indulgent ones or ones that don't have a purpose. What the process of collecting, storing, selecting, and giving credit where credit's due. Like, it's kind of an art form to be able to do what Jesus did.
Right.
And that, it says without a parable, he did not even speak to them. So he was a master storyteller. He made you feel parable of the prodigal son, or grabbing a child and saying greatness in the kingdom is like this, So even the visual of washing a foot or something like that, it made it sticky. It made it to be where you could feel it. Spurgeon used to preach in a way. They said you didn't feel his sermons in your head. You felt him in your diaphragm. Like, it made you want to laugh, or you would almost feel it in your throat, like just the sense of tightness of throat. How do we communicate in a way that's memorable but faithful to the text?
Right. And the kids enjoyed the fire out of it. It was just so good.
Yeah, you have this unique gift. I remember years ago, I don't remember when this was, you were here for our Motion Student Conference, and you took 2 minutes to honor Pastor Chris and Miss Tammy, and you used this illustration of us getting to the moon for the first time. And and I literally remember thinking, like, man, you're hitting us with facts.
Well, because Neil Armstrong brought a piece of the Wright brothers airplane in his pocket to the moon.
Wow.
The Wright brothers flew 100 feet. Neil Armstrong traveled 250,000 miles, but he was honoring, if it wouldn't have been for that 100 feet, I couldn't have gone 250,000 miles. And that's how I feel about you, Pastor Chris. Truly, what you've done, how it's impacted a whole generation of us. Your 100 feet, I know you long for it to become our 250,000 miles.
Absolutely.
But we couldn't have done that had you not done that.
Well,
and so it's that sense of humility of that story. And again, that's an illustration that conveys a spiritual reality.
I've never forgotten it, though. I've been like, man, that was just like, all right, 2 minutes, that was a message in itself.
The Smithsonian checked it out. Can you imagine that? Like, they had to cut it off the wing and put it in his pocket. They had to return it, and they sewed it back on.
That is so great.
Yeah.
So tell us about your 250,000 miles. Tell us what you're learning. Tell us what's going on that you can, where you can add some value to the pastors and leaders who are listening to the podcast today.
Well, I'd say we started our church without the tools that now you guys have formalized with ARC and with GrowLeader and with all of, the 4 cups of wine and all the systems to me that I've learned from you, that have taken an organic, intuitive, Holy Ghost-filled, but more random approach to leadership, and brought it more to able to be executed, executable. I was trying to say that, I couldn't get that word out.
Executable. I don't know
executable.
What it is. That's probably not a word.
Able to be executed, able to be taught, able to be systematized. For all of the virtues of the way I grew up, with an emphasis on the Holy Spirit and the Word, there was very much you start a Bible study, and if it catches fire, it catches fire, which was our experience, to start a Bible study and see it grow. But it's like it's the dog that catches the car. You caught it, now what? And how does that, how does that transfer? How do you scale that? What's the leadership pipeline look like? And I know that's what you eat, sleep, drink. First time we ever talked, it was in the Sydney Airport Lounge, and I came up to you, I bugged you so much. I was like, Pastor Chris, my name's Levi. We're stuck here, but you were like, growth happens when you have more money than you need, you train more people than you need. It was like, oh, is that easy? It was like, dang it, how did I not think of that? I was like, I'm gonna go write that down. More money than need, more people, but some of those things. And so I would say to those listening and watching, be grateful that you are coming of age in ministry in a time where there is the GrowLeader and the ARC and the roundtables, the things where you're willing to hand off that information. And so for us, we saw God move in power. We started the church, and we've been able to implement some of those things in our own culture and finding our own expression of them, of course, as well. And then we started writing books. I published my first book in 2015. We've been able to see it go out and be in a bunch of languages and all the things. And I think partially a sermon lasts 30 minutes. When someone invests in a book, they're in that thing for 14 hours.
Right.
and you're getting just a concentrated amount of time with someone in a hammock, in their bed. They're bringing it into an intimate situation. So
Right.
I really put a lot of my energy into books that will outlive me. I mean, they're in the Library of Congress. They're going to reach people.
So talk to us about your writing process, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the latest book that you just released. What's that process look like for you? Are you on a schedule where, I've signed this contract, so I have one due, or is it purely on like, man, I have something to say right now? Just walk us through that a little bit.
Two things. Number one, and not everybody will feel called to this, so this is a conviction for me, not a standard for the world.
Right.
I hate it when people like have a preference and it becomes law.
Right.
I can't do this, no one can do it. I choose to write out of contract because I don't like the pressure of I have to turn this book in at this time. So I've chosen to write my last several books without even my publisher knowing about it, and I don't tell them about it till it's done. And then, hey, here's what I wrote. It's finished. They can see it, and if they want it, they want it. If they don't, they don't. But it takes away the I have to, and I get to say the whole time, if I don't want to release, I don't have to, and it lets me stay playful. I think a big part of an unsung part of creativity is the ability to stay in a relaxed state. And when you have that deadline, it restricts blood flow to it. So once I begin writing, I take a good long time to come up with concept and let it mature. And once I have the sense of
like a thesis statement, you mean like,
or an organizing metaphor, or where I want people to feel when they read it.
Okay.
And then once I have that, and that's kind of locked in, and I actually start writing, I write 1,000 words per day, every day but Sabbath day, until the manuscript's done. So what are the end product's going to be? I overwrite too by 10%. Usually in the editing process, it comes down 10%, so I overwrite by 10%. So if it's 50,000 words, I'll write 55. And that means I'll write every day but Sunday. For me, that's the day where I'm not going to sit and write, right?
Right.
And I'll do that 6 days a week until it's finished. I tried 2,000 words early on. 1,000's kind of a good sweet spot. That's hour and a half on a good day, and then it's done. I don't edit it that day. I don't ask, was it good? I just do the work. Then when it's done, I look back, 3 months of rest where it sits in a drawer, and then I begin in earnest to edit it, but I'm in a different frame of mind than when I wrote it in.
Yeah. Wow.
So how are you, for both of you guys, both as authors, how are you in that process keeping the content tank full? I mean, even the piece you shared about Neil Armstrong and the piece of the plane from the Wright brothers, there was study that went into that. So how are you going after content to keep your piece, you call it the pantry?
That's probably what most pastors are asking too is, okay, I'd love to do that, but I don't even know where I'd find an hour and a half to fit that into a schedule.
You're a content machine.
Well, but I mean, it's not my day job. I mean, I don't ever write
that's what
in
I'm
my day
talking
job.
about.
Yeah. So it's not 9 to 5. That's not where
Right.
I'm putting it. It's 6 a.m. or late night or in a, I have this little device too. It's called a free write, and it has no ability to do Safari or email. All it can do is write. It's a word processor with a keyboard. And I've taken that thing to the top of the ski hill and got a cup of chili and sat there and got my 1,000 words in. I've just never missed that. But that helps. But as far as the tank, what you called the reservoir, David had 5 stones. He only needed 1 for Goliath. So he had more than he needed. So I think your goal always is to have more than you need.
Yeah.
So I'm always reading, and most people are reading or listening to podcasts. The big thing I think that maybe is my kind of secret sauce is a retention system. You can use notes on your iPhone. You can use Evernote. There's a billion tools. But a lot of people go, oh, that's a good one. That would be a good sermon. But the discipline of writing it down and a little bit of a note to yourself on how you would use it. Okay.
Yeah.
So always that. So then later on, you can come back and find it. So I'm constantly doing that. Bodybuilders say you got to eat big to get big. So always reading, and then taking that next step of putting it into something digital that you can be searched. Okay. But here's the big thing. People always ask me, well, how do you know what to underline? How do you know what to grab? And you think, oh, I'm waiting till something pops in my mind. Nope, it's your body. So I pay attention to my body when I read. If something causes me to sit up, if something causes me, I feel like excited, I pay attention to when I feel it in my body.
That's
because
interesting.
when people listening to me will feel something, it's going to be in their body. And that's when you get excited, it's the edge of your seat or whatever. So when I feel a biological response, that's when I take note of something.
Yeah. I kind of do the same thing in the mornings when I spend time with the Lord, that I get into a kind of a study process. And when I feel it, whenever God's speaking to me, I put it. But the main thing I do is I put it somewhere where I know I can find it. I think the biggest miss is I know it's in there somewhere. but I haven't created a system to be able to find it. What is your system there?
Evernote. Yeah, I make notes. I have notes for book projects. I have notes for illustrations, notes for message series I'm working on down the road. And I'm always sinking stuff in because you think you're going to remember it.
And that's one of the keys too, you just said it. I'd love for the people listening to catch this is if you know where you're going, then you know where to put it.
Yep.
So I know I'm going to teach another relationship series probably next February or whatever, something like that. So the next time I see something interesting about marriage, or about conflict, or about intimacy, like I know I'm going to be teaching that again next year, probably during our relationship series. So I'm going to create this relationship, document. I'm going to throw all this content into there, and it just gives me that place.
Yep.
To be able to find it whenever I'm.
If there's 3 steps, it's cash regular, CACHE, cash it, keep cashing it, cash your stash, right? Cash regularly, organize meticulously, and then the big one that people miss in is reviewing it periodically.
Mm-hmm.
So where you just go randomly and you just read it, and a lot of people miss too when they end a relationship series to sit down and think about what really worked, what didn't, and to make some notes to your future self.
Exactly.
So my generosity series, I always go back to that folder where I've at the end done some work to write down some things, maybe over stuff that I didn't get in or whatever. And so then it's waiting for me next time.
Yeah, that's so good. All right, tell us about the new book.
Ooh, it's called Blessed Are the Spiraling, How the Chaotic Search for Significance Can Lead to Joy Through Life's Shifting Seasons.
Wow.
And Jesus said, blessed are those who mourn, blessed are the poor in spirit. I think in modern parlance, it could honestly be blessed are the spiraling. And we've all spiraled where I feel like I'm spiraling down. Whatever it is. A lot of people, more people are having quarter life crisis these days than midlife or later life. 3 out of 4 is how many people at 18 say, coming out of high school or going into college, I just feel like I'm spiraling. And 18 is 25% of 72, which is the worldwide life expectancy. So that part of the reason is I'm 25% to the worldwide rate of death.
So it's going to happen 4 times during your lifetime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then midlife, of course, most people 38 to 42, somewhere in that window are going to have some sort of seismic shift. Don't buy the Corvette, get the gold chain, or have an affair. Realize, okay, life's shifting. And the reason football players come off the field for halftime is so they can come back on the field different. And so those moments of spiraling are meant to be there so that you can recalibrate, get your footing, learn some lessons. Don't keep trying the old plan. And now appreciate, hey, here's what's in front of me.
So go back. You said that all of your books began with a moment where you sat up in your chair and you felt something. What was that moment for this?
Sadly, it was 2 a.m. and I had just turned 38. And I had my very first middle of the night panic attack out of nowhere.
Wow.
And I didn't have the presence of mind to think, I must be in my midlife crisis. I thought, I'm losing my mind. And part of it was I'd been running too hot. There had been 20 years where I flew 2 million miles. I preached, you know how, the mistakes we make.
Yep.
I flew to South Africa twice for the weekend. That's not a good choice, and then came back and went straight into the next thing. So part of it was just my odometer, which is a big deal. Cars go in for 36, 72, we need some of these things. And the other part of it was just a midlife moment. And I was at a place where I was in the process of losing my father, so that whole journey there, which his cancer diagnosis kind of plays into this whole journey of me not having a dad on earth. So yeah.
Tell us that story, because we were talking about that before we began the podcast. It seemed like that was really a moment that taught you a lot.
Yeah, it was really big. My dad was my best man at my wedding, my best friend, talked to him every single day. And his journey through cancer, seeing...
And when was this?
Well, he went home to be with Jesus April 2nd, 2024.
Okay.
And the journey before that. But just watching the reality of everything he left, which he left it all. Seeing his estate, being the executor and watching that process. Like my dad taught me to fish, my dad taught me to pray, my dad taught me to say a prayer before my first date. He also taught me how to die, and on his mind was kingdom. He was scheduling mission trips and trying to just seeing that and realizing, okay, I'm 42. I may live longer, I may not, but 30 years from now, I'm at that spot. And just knowing, what do I want to do with my second half of life? And this season God has given me, what matters? And Pastor Chris, and I think honestly, a lot of it for me was when you're young, you're so focused on faster, bigger, more, some of those success things sadly sneak in. And so just realizing the second half of life, Ronald Rolheiser said, in the second half, success will still feel good. It just has less to teach you. And God teaches you more through your pain. And also what becomes more significant is less just what you do and more what you can equip someone else to do. And I watch you teaching a young generation of pastors and leaders and finding as much or more joy in what they're doing
100%
than yourself.
Yeah.
So you guys have both led through some, really painful moments. Losing a father and a father-in-law, losing a daughter, losing your dad. For the leader listening who's like, man, I'm on the edge, I'm hanging on, and maybe they're just in that anxiety moment. What is the reset when you're leading other people? How do you reset and go in for that checkup, for the car? What do you do? What are the action steps?
Well, I'm never going to answer that before you. I'll listen first.
Well, I'm staring at your subtitle of the book, The Search for Significance. Every time I came out of a funk or something that was just where I felt like I was spiraling, it was always, I got a new assignment. It's like something in a new project, assignment, vision, something that felt meaningful. Even in this moment, which I was not in a bad place when we made this transition of roles for Mark. It's people say, man, how does it feel to have left all of what you built? And I'm not even thinking about that because I'm so focused on where I'm heading, not what I left.
Yeah.
And I'm staring at that. Yeah. The search for significance, and that has to be the answer, right? That's what you're saying. Yep. Is what gets us out of that is that I'm going to go find that thing that makes my life count and what I'm going to live for.
Yeah, my big thesis or kernel that was out of my panic attack that season, because first of all, I went straight into a lot of counseling. I did a big intensive. I pared back travel. I shifted out of a lot of stuff at church for that season of healing. My board of directors gave me blessing to get into a season of healing. So I was doing bare minimum preaching wise and minimal leadership to get right. There's no joy in playing hurt. So, and out of that 2-year-long process, I'm definitely easing more back into some of the more pre that intensity in a better way, a saner way with some things that are some guardrails. But what hit me was, if you can spiral down, why can't you spiral up? Why can't God, through our lowest moments, bring us into new levels of significance? And I think part of it was I was ordained as a pastor at 20. I had my first sermon in 18, 19. I was preaching, and I so identified with the young pastor. That part of it was like, I'm not old per se, but I'm not 20-year-old anymore. And so I think I was trying to find my footing in what does it mean to be a midlife pastor? And the in the book, and I think the reason a lot of pastors have been connecting with it so far is we all have the instinct to stay Luke Skywalker. I'm the guy in the arena with the lightsaber. But God wants us to step into a season of being Obi-Wan Kenobi and being Yoda. Right. And you know what? There's no shame in that. There's actually, Yoda's more powerful to the Force because he's the one at the college teaching the younglings. Yeah. Then you have a whole generation of Luke Skywalkers, and I think for me, it's been that process.
That's you've stepped into. We'll change your title from Chancellor of Highlands College. You're Obi-Wan Kenobi of Highlands College.
Well, Yoda. Come on. There we go. Well, Obi-Wan Kenobi for sure.
Well, thank you very much. I absolutely find the significance in life doing that for sure. In fact, I was just telling someone I woke up this morning praying over the college. And honestly, as big as it is and as significant as our college is, I feel like the Lord dropped something in my heart that it even goes beyond just what we're doing. And I almost felt like the Lord, I'm actually revealing this for the first time on this podcast, that I feel like God was saying, getting it to the place that I see it in my heart is really only the beginning to now go and share what we've learned with universities all over. Because the truth be known, the 1,000 students or more that we can place in the ministry every 4 years will only scratch the surface of the need of leadership in our world, because it's in such massive decline right now that, I feel like the Lord dropped it in my heart that we could raise up in the next 20 years 100,000 new pastors just in America alone. But it's going to take the mentorship of not just our students here, but the mentorship of colleges everywhere. And I'm telling you, I came out of my prayer time and my, just with a fire lit inside of me. And it reminds me, Levi, of the Elijah getting in the cave of depression. But when he came out of it, the first thing he did is he went and found Elisha.
Go Nimshi. Go get Shaphat.
Exactly. He had all these assignments to go pour his life into the lives of others. And
because when you're just focused on what you do, which our insecurities want to keep us locked up there, we're playing like Saul. Oh, David is tens of thousands and me only in my thousands. But when you have the news flash, hey, everything David does is a win for the kingdom, Saul, and you're the king. that's a win for you.
That's really good.
And you can take as much joy in that, then you have endless significance forever. So like you're saying, I'm going to give the secret sauce away, like I've done at ARC, like I did with Growth Track, like you did with all these paradigms that every church around the country is running the plays. And you're going, I'm excited. I don't need anybody mentioning that Hodges came up with this thing. Like you're saying, take it. And now you're going to do that with education too. Hello. It's Wikipedia.
And people can't really understand it because they think, man, you've got to be depressed and sad that you're no longer, lead pastor at Highlands. It's like, man, I am more fired up, have more energy inside of me for the assignments that are ahead of me than ever before. So
incredible.
Tell us more about the book. Tell us what you're going to teach, what the book teaches people about going through those processes.
Yeah, I came across in my research this statement that was made by a theologian who I don't agree with on every regard, but we eat the meat, spit the bones, right? And he said that life is 3 seasons. Your first season, you're building a container. Your second season, you have to decide what to fill it with. And your third, you need to prepare to both give the container's contents and the container itself away, and that's called death, which is coming for all of us, and yet we all live in denial about it. 72% of Americans don't have a will. How crazy is that? The only thing that's certain is the one thing we're not preparing for.
Wow.
And
so last time I checked, it was 1 out of 1.
And yet, so many estates are ending in probate, and kids don't have assigned guardians by the parents. The court decides.
Yeah,
that's a real tragedy.
Yeah.
So making your will makes you sit down and have the heart of wisdom, knowing your end. So the 3 seasons. If you think about the module like that, in the fires in the belly of youth, you're building a big container. But sadly, a lot of people stay there their whole life or try to. So now you have this big empty house or houses, and yet there's no relationship death. You're on your 3rd marriage. You don't have a relationship with kids. And ministry can have the same parallel. There can be nothing lonelier than a ministry's family if you're neglecting it in pursuit of a bigger container as a big ego trip, right? Blue check mark, all your stuff. So we need to shift into a season of filling the container's content with the contents of family and joy and personal mission and all those sorts of things. Keep going out to war like David and not end up with Bathsheba, right? So, but then the 3rd season is where the containers going away. You have to have a vision for the end of life, because if the Bible's true, there's a glory in old age, not just in youth.
Right.
And that what does that look like? How does your death most benefit your family and the kingdom?
So where are you in these seasons?
I'm definitely in season 2, right? With a mind towards, because you can't just be in when you have to be in preparing for the next one. Go to the ant, your sluggard. He prepares in this season what's coming for the next season. So I'm thinking through season 3, and for me, it's definitely about training leaders. It's about young people. So those are the 2 things that are informing me saying yes to invitations or no. Is there a leadership play, and is it young? It's less just about the exciting new thing I get to speak at for my ego, right?
So tell us how that's actually being lived out, though. Is that why the 10 campuses
in one very functional way?
Yeah.
We are trying to do for the West what you guys done in motion. So out of this process, literally, God gave me a vision of motion, but in the mountains. And when I say the vision I had was, I saw thousands of young people with their hands raised, saved at summer camp, like I got saved at summer camp, but outdoors. So we rented a rodeo arena. I felt like Kevin Costner, plowing up the back pasture for the baseball field. We're going to book Carrie Job and Louis is going to be here, and we're going to see kids again, and watching that happen. And so we're in our 4th year of shamelessly ripping off motion. And the way I explain it is like what God's doing in Alabama and at Passion in Georgia and at Forward, and you know what I mean? But it's like, that's all on the Southeast. What about the Western Seaboard, where Lewis and Clark came? And so we're trying to do that. And I've been pouring everything into that. And then, our residency, our leadership college, pouring into our students, and then opportunities to be around other youth pastors and leaders and communicate in that way.
It's fantastic.
I always say that, plumbers have a certain set of tools they use, and carpenters have a certain set of tools they use, and leaders, all we get are words, tone, and body language, and you're a master with your tools. You do such a great job, and love anytime I get to hear you speak. You guys also have a podcast. Hey, it's the Luskos.
That's
Best
right,
title ever.
I
totally recommend you guys going to listen to that. Just celebrated 200 episodes.
200 episodes, yeah. We did the live one. We did the 200th episode live in Nashville, and we had Toby Mack come. And I had been long wanting to speak with him because he lost a son to overdose, and we had our daughter die of asthma. And so to get to compare notes on grief and hope and finding, for him it was really challenging to return to music again, daunting. He even said, "I'll never write another song."
Wow.
But then he ended up feeling he needed to pick up the quill pen again, and he wrote this beautiful song tribute to his son, and then a whole album about living on earth with your mind in heaven.
And your guys are doing some stuff on marriage as well?
Yeah, Jenny and I released a marriage
yeah.
devotional, and then ended up doing a ton of marriage conferences because the devil's coming for our marriages.
And
you
so
know?
what's kind of a unique take on it that's really been resonating well with people as you share that message?
I think one of the big things was seeing in the parable of the 10 coins that if a bride loses a coin,
Right.
she searches the whole house and gets that coin back. And just thinking they're always, and that was a bridal crown, the 10 coins, part of the dowry, is that there's so many facets of our marriage: creativity, intimacy, generosity, all these different things that make a marriage strong. And at any one point, one of our coins is either loose or falling off. And so constantly working to keep the coins into the crown in our union.
And what is that process? I mean, is that
Well, I think it's identifying what they are. Now, part of it's going to be calling, part of it's going to be just, there are things that are true about marriage that are going to be true for every marriage, but also knowing there are echoes of the ultimate marriage that are going to be uniquely to you and Miss Tammy and to me and Jenny, and knowing and making your calling within your home an election sure so that those coins can stay fixed.
So is it like an audit process? I mean, would you go out on a date or a marriage retreat or something to say, hey, let's keep talking until we find that area? I mean,
all of the above.
What's the real practice there?
All of the above. One of the big things for Jenny and I that we give in the book is separating your date night from your check-in. Every relationship has it. The check-in is where you go, okay, lay it
How
on
we
me.
doing?
How are we doing? Jenny
good.
and I made the mistake for years. We're 20 years married now, and we made the mistake for too long of every date night started with how we doing, and then a whole list of things came out, and then neither of us enjoyed the rest of the night.
Yep.
So now it's almost like habeas corpus. Like, I have immunity. It's date night. La, 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 la. Now, that being said, you have to get to the other one. But not making, then date night, you can have sex. And date night, you can enjoy each other. Otherwise, you're so mad and angry.
Yeah.
It takes till the entree gets there to work through that fight. And then it's like, let's just go home
good
and
wisdom.
get the babysitter out of there. So that's one of the big things we give.
That might have been worth the whole podcast just for that.
That's great. The Grow Leader podcast does endorse all of that he just talked about. So, hey, thank you so much for being here. It means a whole bunch to us for you to come and invest in the college.
Yes.
And believe in what we're doing here, and just also to spend time with us today.
Hey, I got the airplane wing in my pocket, so I'm grateful.
That's great.
That's awesome. Hey, everybody, the new book is called Blessed Are the Spiraling, How the Chaotic Search for Significance Can Lead to Joy Through Life-Shifting Seasons. You can get it everywhere books are sold. Also, the marriage devotional, which we talked about at the end of the podcast, are available everywhere books are sold as well. And we'll link to all of that in the show notes, and also make sure that you guys have a copy of the chapel service here at Highlands College with Pastor Levi Lusko.
Listen to it. It was so good.
It's amazing. It'll help you. We loved having you with us. We'll see you next time on the Grow Leader Podcast. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. And also a big thank you to all of our partners that help make the Grow Leader Podcast happen. For over 80 years, Wesleyan Investment Foundation has helped churches with their borrowing and investing needs. And whether you're dreaming of new opportunities or seeking wise resource management, we think WIF can help you. You can learn more about them at wifonline.com/growleader. For over 30 years, One Hope has partnered with churches and ministries to impact the lives of children and youth with the message of the gospel of Christ. Through collaboration with local communities worldwide, One Hope has reached over 2 billion young people in 112 countries. Discover how you could partner with them at onehope.net/growleader. If you're looking for ways to know your people better and also grow your church at the same time, you need to know about Studio C. Studio C combines strategy, technology, and communications to maximize church member engagement. You can bridge the engagement gap and transform your church's impact with Studio C, and you can learn more about them at thestudioc.org/growleader.